Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Charles and you're watching Charles Salbox TV. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 beginner's drills, like a starter pack. So if you're a complete beginner who's just stepped into a boxing club, this video is going to cement 10 drills to help you along your way. Also, if you're an intermediate level or advanced boxer, then this video is going to remind you about some of the fundamentals that you should know. Right, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, so the first set of 5 drills that I'm going to show you are based on your form. So the first is your boxing stance, possibly the most fundamental thing that you need to know about progressing in boxing, your boxing stance. This is where you get your balance and all of your movements should start from. So the first thing that we want to do is understand our lead hand and our lead foot. So I write with my right hand, and therefore my lead hand is my left hand. So what I do with my lead foot, which corresponds with my lead hand, my left foot, is step forward, okay? And I should be still at waist width apart. At the moment, it's going straight forward to 12 o'clock. I turn it slightly so that it's at an angle in between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. I take a line going back from my lead foot toe and I reach my rear foot heel. Okay, so those two things are in line. Now what I want to do is make sure I lower my hip, keep my feet in these positions. My rear foot should be at an angle in between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, okay? So just so that I've got that, and now my base, I'm well balanced. Now the next thing I want to do after lowering my hips and having a slight bend in my knees is raise my rear foot heel. Okay, so I've got my weight evenly distributed between both feet. Now I want to take my weight backwards. Okay, so I should be in a position where I'm balancing more of my weight on my rear foot. Okay, and then with my hands now, I bring my elbow towards my torso on the rear hand. My fist, that is in contact with my chin. My lead hand, elbow away from the torso. Lead hand, obviously with my chin down, well protected. And then, yeah, this is my boxing stance. So the drill that you would need to perform is that when you've got your coach on the side, he would clap his hands, pat, and then you take your rear foot back, obviously with your lead foot in front, and then your hands in position here. Okay, so again, there, okay? There, okay? And you want to make sure that you catch your weight on the back foot and your hips are lowered, lead foot in between 12 and 1, and your hands, you know, in the correct position, okay? So that's the first drill. The next drill is our movement, moving forwards, backwards, left and right from the boxing stance, okay? So again, we're in our boxing stance. When we want to move forwards, we take our lead foot, we take a step, but we don't move the body with the lead foot step, okay? We take the step there, and then with the rear foot, we move our body, okay? There, there. From the side, looks like this. Good, and the reason why we do that is because we don't want to commit our forward movement with our weight with the lead foot step. If we notice something happening on the lead foot step, we can quickly bring our lead foot step backwards, okay? But when we see that everything's safe, then we can move forwards, okay? There, 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 okay? Now, when we want to move backwards, same principle, but just in reverse, we take the foot that leads in that direction, and then we move that foot first. So our rear foot is in the backward direction. So we take that back first, and now we move backwards because everything's going to be safe going backwards. And then our lead foot. There, 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 there. From this angle, there, 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 there. Good. So now when we want to move to the left and right, similar principles again. Foot that leads in that direction. So our left foot leads in the left direction. So we move that first. Good. And now do that from this angle. Good. And now when we want to move into the right direction, good. From this angle, obviously remembering to keep the hands, the form in the correct position. Good. So we're moving forwards, backwards, left to right. That's our movement drills. We want to perfect that by drilling that every session. Now, what we want to do on top of that is make sure that we can change direction quickly. So our pivots. Now, our pivots are where we use the lead foot and then we create a small pivot point and then we rotate around that pivot point. So what we do with the lead foot, okay, again in boxing stance, very important, we switch the heel from this position upwards to the side, and then we push with the back foot, which we should have some pressure by the elevated heel, and then we push, we come around. Again, catching our weight with the boxing stance. Obviously, we've got the rear foot up, heel, and the lead foot heel down on the front foot. So we quickly bring that down after the pivot. So there, there, okay? There, okay? There, okay? Now we want to be able to pivot moving anti-clockwise. So we're in this position. Instead of moving our heel out to the side, we just lift our heel up and then we push with the rear foot. There, 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 there. You're going to find that moving around to the anti-clockwise direction is slightly harder. So with that in mind, you maybe want to drill that more often than that clockwise movement. So the next thing that we want to do is our slip. Okay, our slip is a way for us to move our head off the target line. Now, obviously, when we perform the slip, we want to come back to the form. Okay, so this is why we want to drill these types of movements. We don't need to be engaged with an attack to perform this. We can do this out of range. Obviously, if we have a moving target, it makes our opponent hesitate. I'm not saying that you should do this with the hands down, but just so that you can see the movement in my body. I go here, then I go here, okay? Slip, slip, okay? From the side, slip, slip, okay? We've got the slip. We want to go to the side, rotate on the back foot, bring our hands to our head, hip movement, and then we come back, okay? Now again, to the side this way, there, then we come back. There, then we come back, okay? From the side here, so you can see where my head's moving. I'm not moving forwards, I'm moving to the side. There, 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 there. So fast, ta, ta, okay? Ta, ta. The next thing that I want to do is show you the roll. So that will be the fifth particular drill that, you know, gives you an understanding of your form. And you can use these in a defensive mode as well, okay? But this is all to do about what you are doing without throwing punches, okay? So all your defensive style type of movements and all your basic movements. Now, when you perform the roll, what you want to understand is almost like you're slipping and then you're dipping and then you're moving across in a circle. So I'll demonstrate that. So we go to the side with our hands up, okay? We go round into this position and then we come up into this position, back into our boxing stance, okay? Again, to the side, down, and then here, okay? Now to the other side, what we want to do, bring the hands there, not impeding our vision, and then we're here, okay? Again, there, there, and then here, okay? From the side, there, round, and then there. Other side, there, round, and then here, okay? Now our rolls are going to help us in many situations. Our slips also. All of these particular movements are going to help you with your form, getting used to the subtle nuances of what the movement entails, and then maintaining balance, okay? So the next set of drills that we're going to move on to are the ones that help you more so with your attack and then also your defense. So your attack and defensive drills, okay? So the first thing that we want to do is understand how to feint, okay? Now, hands can be used to feint, eyes can be used to feint, subtle movements can be used to feint, but the feint in itself is defined as some micro movement that mimics the action of punching. Our opponent reacts in the way where they lose their form, and it allows us to strike our opponent in those open areas. So what we want to do, first of all, we're going to limit this particular starter pack to feinting with the hands and then feinting with the feet. So the first thing that we do, we throw the shoulder forward, boom, and then we tense up with the fist. So there, okay, there, okay. Now, obviously the lead shoulder is already forward, so we don't need to pivot on the lead foot, but the rear shoulder is all the way back here. So we need to pivot on the rear foot and then bring the hip forward so that we can bring the shoulder forward. There, okay, there. Lead hand again, there, 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 okay. Now, all of these movements, you will have to determine what level of movement gets your opponent to react. There are some opponents that are a lot more advanced and they won't react. You can make the movement a bit more faster or a bit more exaggerated and slower. So all these subtle nuances will affect the likelihood that your opponent will react. So now with the foot feints, what we do, we push ourselves forward, we propel ourselves forward, and then we stop ourselves moving forward with the lead foot, and that gives the action of a jab. Okay, the jab, feint, ta, okay, ta, okay, ta, okay. Now the rear foot feint for the cross would just simply be ta, okay, ta, okay. So if our opponent reacts just off that, ta, we don't need to move the hand, ta, okay, because maybe they're watching the hip. Ta, okay, ta, ta, from the front, ta, 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 ta. So those are the feints that we can use, hand feints and foot feints. So the next thing that we want to drill is our straight punches. Now the selection of our straight punches includes the jab and the cross. So the first thing that we want to do with the jab is work with our feet and then move up the body to perfect all the small things that will help us with the mechanics. We can either step with the lead foot, okay, there, there, or we can push with the rear foot. So I'm going to do both of them, ta, ta, okay. So you can see the slight difference, okay, one is slightly more powerful. So there, 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 okay. The other one, which is the push, ta, 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 okay? I remember when I did this before, a lot of you couldn't see the difference between the step and the push. Obviously, the step, you are more in contact with the floor, ta, until you move forward, ta, okay? The push is literally a push, ta, ta, okay? You push yourself into that step. Ta, ta, okay, there's more power involved. Now, what you want to do, I'll show you from the front, with your hip is turn your hip so your shoulder follows the line as well. Ta, ta, okay, ta, ta. Now with the push, same thing, ta, 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 okay. Now, all of that momentum that you've generated and energy that you've generated through the body, you want to extend through the arm. You don't want your elbows flaring out to, the side. What you want to do is lift your elbow like that, have that as an action that you perform, and then slowly turn your wrist Okay, so you turn your wrist like this at the end point. So there, and you turn your wrist. There, turn your wrist. There, turn your wrist. So that keeps your elbow, you know, moving along the trajectory of the jab. Okay, now when you put all of that together, slowly, ta, 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 moving forwards this way, so you can see the trajectory of my elbow. Ta, 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 ta. This is to help you with the targeting. If your elbow comes out to the side, you're going to lose valuable energy moving out to the side and then going forward. With this technique, you want to channel all of your energy going forwards. Ta, ta, okay, just like that. Performing both types of jabs. Ta, 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 okay. Again. Ta, 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 okay. So you can see one is involving a step and then the other is involving a push. Now we can move on to the cross, which is the other component of our straight punch with the rear hand. Now with the straight punches, obviously they move down the line, okay? So the only thing that we want to think about when we're throwing the cross is the fact that the cross occurs from here. It starts from here. So we want to make sure that we can deliver it. We need to take a forward step first with the lead foot and then throw the cross on a step on the rear foot and a rotation at the same time. So we pivot on the back foot. So there is the lead foot step, and then when we want to step with the rear foot, we have to perform a pivot. Ta, okay, there. From the side. Ta, ta, okay. Now it's important to realize that with my hips, I rotate and I translate, okay? So when I take the forward step with my lead foot, ta, that happens. I don't commit to moving forwards in on that step, okay? What I do, I let my hip naturally move forward from the step that I take. Ta, you can see there's a slight shift of movement from my hips going forwards, and that's just because I've widened my base. Now what I want to do is move my rear foot forward, but pivot at the same time so I can engage my hips and then rotate. Ta, okay? But what I don't do is lean forward into that cross. So I don't do this. Ta, ta, okay? That's poor technique there. What I want to do is ta, ta, okay? There. And this is the straight that I stay on the line for, okay? So here, ta, ta, okay? There. From the side. Ta, ta, okay? When I throw the straight, my lead hand comes back. But as I move forward, another consideration that I might have is that I want this hand to be a bit more defensive. So from here, ta, ta, okay? Again, ta, ta, okay? And you can see where my center of mass lies is in between the front foot and the back foot. So that is a technique to set up the drills for your cross and essentially your straight punches. Now we move on to the hooks, the rear hook and the lead hook. Now I've always spoken about the lead hook being a bit problematic with the pivoting and stuff like that, but I'm going to show you what you do on the rear foot first. Remember, you've got to turn on the rear foot, pivot, okay? Because what you want to do is to bring the hip into a good position so that your shoulder approaches your opponent so that you can then throw the hook from that position. So the first thing that I'm going to do from the side, I'm going to rotate my back foot and then realign my rear hand so that you can see the hook in play. So here, pa, okay, there. So that's a long range hook where I turn the knuckles into the opponent, okay? A short range hook, pa, okay, there, okay? So long range, pa, short range, pa, again, long range, pa, short range, pa, okay, there. The reason why I turn my foot, pivot my foot, is so that I can bring my hip forward, okay? Because my hip is out of place when I want to throw that hook. Now, additionally, the hip enables the shoulder to come forward. The shoulder is now closer to my opponent. Now I'm throwing my shoulder from here to throw the hook, okay? Before, I was here, okay? This shoulder is in no place to have a hook being thrown off it if it's here, okay? So where I rotate my body, shoulder comes into place, and then I'm able to deliver the hook from this position. This is the reason why I pivot, okay? To bring my hip into place. Now, when we're thinking about the lead hook, the hip already is in place, okay? The rotation that I require is from the back foot to just shift the torso and the hip by a small amount so that I can then hook to my opponent who sits on this line, okay? If I pivot my lead foot, I go over the line, okay? What I then have to consider is recovering. What happens if I miss, and then am I able to keep my balance? Okay, normally what we do on the bag is, perfect our hook based on the fact that we know we are going to have contact. Okay, what we do in shadow boxing is slightly different. We perfect our technique based on the fact that we punch to a certain position. So if we are shadow boxing to this position, boom, it's incorrect. Okay, what we want to do is shadow box to this position, okay? And then make sure that all of our punches have purpose, okay? When we position our punches to a certain distance, it must be in reference to where we assume our opponent is. There's no point throwing punches like ta, ta, and then throwing the hook to here, or ta, ta, and then throwing the hook to here. It makes no sense, okay? And it's poor technique. Poor technique would then transfer into how our boxers perform in the ring. The performance will be hindered by the fact that, not that they haven't done the right road work, but their technique, their inability to target, that will be the hindrance. So what we want to do is make sure that when we are throwing our lead hook, we push, boom, we direct our weight to the back foot, we pivot on the back foot, and then we align our fist with the target point here, okay? Remember, if we go beyond the target point, it's because we're pivoting, okay? We don't want to go beyond the target point unless we are throwing haymakers. And we don't need to do a technical evaluation of what we do when we are throwing haymakers, okay? We can just throw them. There's tons of guys out there outside of the boxing club and the boxing world that are throwing haymakers on a Saturday night out when they've been intoxicated. We can learn from them. But when we're in the boxing club, what we want to do is perfect our technique in a proficient manner, okay? So we throw the rear hook, ta, and then we throw the lead hook, ta, okay? And the lead hook is not going to be as powerful as the rear hook. The lead hook is more so for speed, just like the jab is, okay? The jab is not supposed to be thrown with the same ferocity and strength as the rear hand. The lead hand, with all of his punches, is to set up the backhand and to create confusion. We need to differentiate the purpose of our lead hand and the purpose of our rear hand. So the summary of the lead hand hook and the rear hand hook, we pivot and we push on our rear foot, pa, okay, pa, okay, short range, pa, pa, okay, and then we push on the lead foot and pivot on the rear foot, pa. Have the end point there, pa, okay? Pa, pa, okay? So that's a demonstration of the hooks that we'll need to drill later on within the boxing club. Okay, the next thing that we need to move on to for us to drill is our uppercuts, okay? So our rear uppercut follows with the same simplicity as the rear hook, and the lead uppercut follows with the same complexity as the lead hook. So the rear hook, rear uppercut are very easy, okay? So with the rear uppercut, we just throw, okay? Bring our body around with the pivot on the back foot. So we pivot the back foot, okay? We keep the same form as rotation. Hand comes back, boom. We throw the uppercut, okay? Just like this, we direct the knuckles to our opponent. We come back there, okay? Now we want to make sure that when we throw this uppercut, we direct the knuckles to our opponent. So again, pa, okay, we don't want to move our head forward. Pa, we rotate the shoulders. Pa, okay, lead hand comes back for defense. Pa, okay. Now the lead uppercut is slightly different, okay. We need to understand that the lead hand is our first line of defense, okay? So as soon as we use this for our attack, we need to understand, does it carry a defensive mechanism towards it? Lead hook, yes, takes us back into our boxing stance. The jab, boom, it's at a long range, so yes. Lead uppercut, no, because what we need to do is understand that lead uppercut needs to be thrown in 2 dimensions. And when we're throwing it, if we're still on the line, we are susceptible to punches. So what we need to do primarily is to come offline first and then throw the lead uppercut. So normally the lead uppercut will be thrown after a cross or an uppercut on the rear hand, you know, or hook, and then we'll come to this position, okay? So it's essentially the slip position. So what we can do is just slip for the purpose of this. And then what we do from here, we push with the back foot, bring our hip forward, rotate the hip as well, and then move the knee along our lead foot direction. So there, okay? So from the side, there, okay? And then we extend the arm into the uppercut position. So that helps us with the mechanics of what we're doing with our body. The extension of our arm is just then the uppercut finish. Okay, so there, rotate round, push with the back foot, let the knee follow the trajectory of the lead foot. Pa! Okay, there. There, pa! Okay, again. Pa! Okay. So that is the uppercut, the lead uppercut, and then the rear uppercut. Okay guys, so the last drill that you want to perform is one where you focus on defense. Now you're going to be catching and blocking punches. Now with the catch and the block, these are basic things that you can do to defend yourselves. The parry is slightly more complicated, so obviously if I advance this guide, I will then include the parry. So the catch and the block are relatively easy to perform. What we're first of all going to do is deal with the 1-2 defense. So we first of all catch the jab. So we've got our hands in this basic position. Obviously it's slightly more inviting for our opponent. This is where we're trying to bait the punch, okay? So we've got the rear hand that is a bit more active, waiting for the jab. So we're here, and then the catch, pa. Okay, that is the basic movement of the catch. Okay, there. So the lead hand being here enables us to perform a counter, so a counter jab. So we would catch the jab from our opponent and maybe throw our jab going back. Okay, so but the main thing is the defense first. So here we catch the jab, pa, okay, ta, okay, and then our head moves slightly behind our hand. So there, okay, pa, okay, pa, okay, pa, pa. So obviously that is how to perform the defense for the jab. Now what we want to do is also be able to deal with the cross. Now that is slightly more powerful. So what we're going to do is take a step back whilst we bring the lead hand up to block the cross. Okay, so what we're doing, we're in our basic boxing stance, the cross comes, we take a step back, and then we kind of, you know, position our palm at the top of the head. We leave our forearm here so we can deflect the punch from our opponent, the cross. Ta. Move around. Ta. Okay. Single cross comes. Ta. Ta. Okay. So if the jab and then the cross comes, ta, ta. Okay. Ta, ta. And the rear hand is still here. Ta, ta. Okay. Just there. Ta, ta. Okay. You can see where the rear hand is where we leave it in the defensive position. Ta, ta. Okay. So that is basically our treatment for the jab and then the cross. Now, when it comes to the hooks, what we want to do is also be able to defend against those punches. So the lead hook, which comes around here from our orthodox opponent, what we want to do is bring the hand up here, boom, turn on the back foot, and then we're shielded from that hook. Okay. Ta. Okay. Just from the side so you can see what's happening on the side of the hook. Pa, okay? So we want to cover the ears. Pa, okay? Pa. Pa, okay? And then lead hand. Pa, okay? We leave it in a defensive position here. Pa, okay? From there we can also hook. Pa, and then come back with the hook. But obviously defense is the priority here. Now what we're going to do is deal with the rear hand hook. So the hook comes round here, ta, okay? We kind of pivot on the back foot. Obviously the similar situation when we're slipping on the inside. Ta, ta, ta. On this side so you can see, ta, okay? So again, we're protecting our temple, the ears and the jaw, okay? Ta, okay? We can still see our opponent. We want to keep our eyes fixed on our opponent so we know what to block next or whether we have to counter. And if you're trying to counter, you always have to see your opponent, okay, to be able to have that good targeting. Okay guys, so the next set of punches are the uppercuts. The uppercuts are slightly more difficult to deal with just because of the trajectory that the punches are thrown. But what we're doing is bringing the elbows to the hips and we're rotating, okay? So there, okay? Ta, okay? Ta, okay? If one's directed here, then we just simply bring the elbow down. We don't have to rotate that much. There, okay? But if an uppercut is thrown on the inside, ta, we have to rotate slightly more, okay? Again, being able to have the good visual of your opponent, look at what your opponent is doing, is paramount to be able to block in. And then with your reaction, ta, okay? Ta, okay? Ta, ta, okay? Now the rear hand uppercut obviously carries a bit more weight. Ta, okay? There, ta, there. If it comes down the center, then we're rotating in slightly more, okay? Ta, ta, okay? Ta, ta, ta. Pivot. Ta, 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 ta. You want to make sure that whenever you're in the gym, you're practicing these punches religiously and also the defenses associated with the punches. Now, make sure that you have good understanding of where your opponent is. You're keeping your eyes open. You're moving, subtle shifts of movement, and then your hands are ready. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of the video. I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed the content. Obviously, you have to make sure that you hit that like button and share the video to someone that you feel may benefit from the content. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, you know, if you want me to perform a particular video on any one of the small things that I've touched on within this guide. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I shouldn't even have to tell you that. Hit the notification bell to stay informed of any new videos that I'm uploading to the channel. And until my next one, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.